one of few who are willing to say it.
Well, we need to work on that. This is why men need female friends. Yeah. For real. Welcome to the podcast.
Is there anywhere specific you want to start, or you want to just get right into it?
We can get right into it.
All right. How did you become so comfortable in your own skin?
Oh my God.
Because it's one of the first things I noticed. Like, you're just really comfortable with who you are.
A lot of failure. And I think with every failure, if you don't take it as something that really sucks, but you take it as you need so many in order to win, then you can start to move on with the things that kind of don't matter to you. And I realized probably in the last couple years that no insecurity of mine was going to change my life. And the only thing that was going to change my life was if I took all the things that I do love about myself and the things that I do love that I love to do and move on from that I was going to do anything powerful for myself.
What was like one of the biggest insecurities that you had?
I never really had any.
It doesn't have to be an external insecurity, just something like internally that like once you got over it, you were like, my life is 20 times easier.
Always needing to be the best at everything the first time. I grew up as an athlete. I competed in horseback riding. I swam did junior Olympics. I did softball. I, played just kind of everything I did. I needed to be as good as I could be as long as it was better than somebody else. And it wasn't necessarily that I was like a bad teammate, or I was just incredibly competitive. And I don't know if I always came across that way, but in my mind, I was like, if I didn't win, what was the point of it? Whereas moving on from that and being like, I can be the worst at something as long as I'm having a good time with it, as long as other people around me are having a good time with it. Like snowboarding was kind of a humbling experience. I got on a snowboard the first time at 16 with a really good friend of mine, and she was not much further along than I was. And I was really, really bad, really bad. And I didn't pick it up for another couple years. And then I took a lesson, and learning from people who are masters at things is really important instead of trying to pick something up on your own, which is totally a legitimate way to learn, but not one I prefer.
Yeah. Is it more of you were competing against other people or competing against yourself?
Oh, myself all the time. But if I wasn't better, then what was the point of doing it? And I think that's an ADHD thing as well.
Did you eventually get to become the best, or did you just not compare yourself to other people? Okay.
No, but I learned how to love it instead of learning how to or doing it because I had to be the best.
Did you... It's a lot of everything I do. It's like I get to the point where I don't really care about other people. I don't care about how other people, like, oh, hey, you can do the podcast a little bit better. No, I can't. But I don't, like at this point, I do this so many times that when someone's like, hey, you need to complete it this way, like, no, I don't. You don't understand. But how do you manage the difference between like you're growing and you're becoming better and better, and other people haven't seen that yet, but it's something that you internally just like dismiss whatever they're saying because like I've already tried that, or I know that's not going to work?
I mean, I think you already said it. Who cares what other people think, right? And if you are in your own world, because everyone lives in their own world and perceptions of things and realities, and you have your own, and I have my own. Am I where I thought I was going to be when I was 16? I don't know. I thought I was going to be dead, but like I'm here now, and I take a lot of pride in what I've done and how far I've come internally. And I think when you do take so much pride in how far you come internally, the external will start to unfold, but it doesn't. It's on its own timeline. It's not on the one that you created when you were 16 years old.
What about when you start to lose sight of reality? Like the world that you live in internally is different from the world that's external.
That's an interesting conundrum. I think if you lose your external world, I think it's really important that you have friends that can bring you down. Not bring you down. I think it's important that you have friends that will help you come back to yourself and that know who you are and what your morals and ethics are and how you behave normally and not in like your manic or depressive episodes, but like who you are at your core, and they can kind of guide you back to yourself. I think it's really important to have that community, whether it be your family or your friends.
What about when you're too scared to ask for help because you just feel like you're not good enough to be able to ask someone a question?
That is
Is that just like emotional vulnerability? Just getting over that?
yes. I also think that it's really an interesting time we live in because I think everything's recorded and your life is on social media as much as you don't want it to be. Like we all still have the Instagrams and the Facebooks and all of this. I'm not a very like social media person. I don't post a lot of things. It's something that I need to work on and that I would like to work on. But I think because all of our lives are spent texting each other, they're spent not face to face, we've kind of stepped away from saying that you need help out loud and saying things out loud to people. Like I'll text my friends all day and have like very basic conversations and keep up with each other's lives. But like at the end of the day, are you asking them how are you really doing? You know, what's really going on? But you need those friends who do. And if you don't, and if they're not, if your friends aren't reaching out and asking you, then you need other friends.
What about when there's like the perception that you have everything in your life together?
Does anybody have that perception?
I've noticed, at least, especially in people that I respect a lot, that it's like, oh, you have your life together. I don't need to reach out to you to be able to see how you're doing. It's like you already know what to do. I already have enough faith in. Maybe it's the male perspective. Just like I know a lot of people who either are not intelligent enough to be able to understand what they're going through, or they are intelligent enough to be able to figure out a solution. I'm just like, okay, I can somewhat identify that they're going through something, but I'm like, they'll figure it out. If they need something, they'll ask me.
Yeah, I just don't expect anybody to have their life together. And I think as somebody who very much does not have my life together, I don't know anybody else who does. You know, I know a lot of people who have certain aspects of their life together, but I don't know anybody who has their whole life together, you know, and the people who have those aspects of their life together, I always ask how do you do that? You know, what do you do that this part of your life seems so, you did something so right here. And then there's this part of your life that like, maybe there's just, you haven't balanced out yet. Because I think balancing everything in life, especially in this crazy world we live in, where we have the online world and we have the real world, and there are, especially when you're doing podcasts and YouTube and all of this, you're like balancing, that's your job and your work, and this is my real life and what I have to feel about it. And balancing those two is really difficult. I think especially for men who are working full time and then trying to discover what like emotional vulnerability is at home with their families or not, and women who work full time and then, you know, come home and try to figure out their emotional vulnerabilities and then do it together. It's like, I think that's the nice thing about being single, especially at my age, is I can learn my emotional vulnerability by myself, learn how to communicate it, try it out with friends, try it out with my family. Experiment, see what works, see what communication style it works with different people.
There was one kind of going off of the being single part, is we adore the ones, I was on Instagram obviously, and came across this one. Efforts always attract people. We adore the ones who ignore us and ignore the ones who adore us.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm too old for that now, but I've been there. Especially with when I got married. I got married very young, and it was very much both of us, I think, kind of played that game. And when you realize that your relationship with your partner is never a game, it's kind of the game you don't have to play, right? But yeah, that's a huge insecurity trigger, I think.
Why do people do it? Is it just like the the perception of value that they have. That's like, if I make myself less known to this person as much as I love them, they may think about me more, and therefore,
Yes.
oh,
Yes. No, I think that's exactly what it is. I think if you feel, I think there's this constant seesaw. So it's like, I give way too much attention to you, and then you feel smothered. And then they're like, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, let me backtrack. This feels overbearing. And then you ignore it. You ignore them, right? And they're like, oh my God, wait, where did all of that attention go? I didn't want 100% of it. I just wanted 50%. And now you're giving me 0. And so let me get back to the 50. But then you get back to the swing of 100 because that's all you know how to give. And it's not sustainable. So then you just get through this really toxic cycle of...
Is it almost like manipulation?
I think a lot of things come across as manipulation now. I think it's a really key word. I think it's people just not knowing how to have a relationship yet. And especially when you start having relationships and you're pressured at like 13 to have like your little high school boyfriend, girlfriend, and then you get this like stupid relational trauma because you don't know who you are yet or what you love, and you can't share that with another person because you're too busy caring about what they love and they're too busy caring about what you like. And do you like me enough? Do you want to spend more time with me? And it's like, no, I kind of just want to sit in my bed and read, you know? And it's hard to say that to somebody. It has nothing to do with you. I really enjoy spending time with you. I just also want to spend time alone.
There's one couple, Alex and Layla Humrozi. One of the things that they said was that whenever they're drifting apart, they'll, like, one of them will be like, hey, it feels like we don't see each other as much. Can we see each other more? And then if they're being too close, then it's like, okay, we need to distance ourselves a little bit.
And that's like the emotional maturity that doesn't come unless you've failed a lot. Because letting go of control of another person's life is really, really difficult, especially when you feel like you don't have control of your own. And I think this is kind of where a lot of people, and I don't want to discriminate gender-wise, but this is where a lot of women have struggle with their partners because they've been in abusive and toxic relationships, and they're like, do you get in a good one or not? And they're like, oh my God, what is he cheating on me? Like, and there's like this, like, I need to make sure that everything's okay because it is okay. And if it changes, then, and let them. Like, if they're going to cheat on you, let them cheat on you. But it doesn't have anything to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with how your life is going to go. You know, let them cheat on you. Move on. And there's nothing wrong with separating from somebody who's not good for you. And if you find somebody who is good for you, let that be as good as it is for as long as it's going to be. And then when it's bad for both of you, work through it or move on. You know, as long as you are not changing your morals and ethics and boundaries. Like, my boundary is, hey, we can get through anything in this relationship as long as you don't step outside and cause a trust issue that I have to bear. We can get through anything else. Okay, cool. As soon as that person steps over the line of the boundary that has been clearly set and should not be needed to say, but sure, I'm going to say it, then bye. Like, this was really nice. Thank you. I really wish you the best.
Where do you find, or in your opinion, where does that line between I have to work on myself and I need to be with someone else so that I can stay in reality?
I think that you should stay single until you find the person that you're supposed to be with in that moment. You know what I mean? Working on yourself is going to be constant and forever. And you can work on yourself with somebody. But if God gives you somebody in your life that you have done all of the work, you know what red flags to look for, you know that if this person behaves this way, you're not going to put up with it. And you're not going to sit in something that's going to drag your life down instead of raise you and your life up, then don't do that to yourself. And as soon as they show those behaviors, be like, hey, this has been what it's been, like, and move on with it and continue to work on yourself until somebody else comes that, you know, might be. I always say, I'm not going to do anything now that's going to disrespect my husband, right? And I haven't met him yet. I have no idea, but I stand by that. And it's not like I've done that perfectly in my past whatsoever, but I'm here now. So I'm not gonna, like I'm going to continue working on myself in my life and get me where I need to be for myself and my son. And when the time comes, like, great, finally. Where have you been?
Yeah. Does that have a lot to do with respecting yourself?
100%. Yeah. And it's the hardest thing to do because respecting yourself has to override a good time. It has to override like lust and enjoying things in the moment. And you can find other things to enjoy in the moment that are a longer lasting dopamine hit than like going out to the bar, getting drunk and hooking up with somebody and then next morning being like, did that again, And it's just more fun to go out to the bar, hang out with your friends and go home. Like go home, go to sleep.
Yeah. Just to be comfortable by yourself.
Be comfortable by yourself and, not make any mistakes that you didn't need to. And I've made a lot of them, like a lot. And I just don't need to anymore.
Yeah. So what would be the line between you having to go through life making mistakes versus you learning from other people's mistakes?
I do think there are like different personalities. Mine was never going to be the one that listened to anyone else's mistakes until I made enough on my own. And then I think that there are people that I look up to and respect who have looked at their friends and read, and studied mistakes so they don't make the same ones. And I can't say that it takes longer one way or the other to learn the lesson. But I do think that there's people with anxiety and then there's people like me, right? And I'm not anxious about making mistakes. I know whatever I do, I can work through. I can come back to my reality and be like, well, that was dumb, or, but there are people that are so anxious to make a mistake that they don't even live.
Yeah, I'm
slowly starting to learn.
I'm the opposite. That's why I did the podcast. If I can learn from other people's mistakes, not make them myself, dude, my life is going to be 20 times easier.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah. We were doing a vlog yesterday and then Saturday, pain in the butt. That's why I was really excited for this because Tim and Steven put them together, total nut job. Separate them, half decent.
I can't wait for the vlog.
The only part of Saturday's one that was actually good is when Dave walked in and said one thing. That was the only part I was excited about. The rest of it was just like them chatting about the most useless things. And one of the things about Tim, which I find really weird, so I'm like, I haven't done anything yet. I'm still a virgin. For good reasons. I respect my parents.
Yeah.
And
I'm proud of you.
Tim, well, thank you.
And keep it until,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
This isn't something that you should just
let go.
And be like, hey, like, I just need to get it over with. And it's not. You do not need to get it over with.
Like every time it's almost, there's like, not peer pressure, but it's always this like implied like, hey, go out, do something with a girl, have fun with it. It's like, you're in your 20s. Yeah, I'm in my 20s. This is the best time for me.
I already got here.
I guess I really hate hookup culture for that reason. It's just like, it implies that, hey, you already did it. No, I haven't. My parents did not go from halfway across the world just for me to be like, yo, I'm drunk in the middle of the night, getting wasted.
I love that you say that you respect your parents and like you're doing this because of your parents, because I think that's kind of where it starts, the self-respect. I love my parents dearly. Growing up was rough. I was homeschooled, so my mom had to balance like mom versus teacher, and it's a really hard balance to have on top of everything else we were doing. And I was a competitive horseback rider, so I mean, we were traveling all the time, and there was not much time to do schoolwork. So anyway, the balance of that. I didn't grow up with a healthy respect of my parents, I wouldn't say, and therefore I don't think that I had much self-respect, because if I came from X, then that means I'm Y, right? But I think that this will eventually translate over for you, that self-respect is your thing. It's something that you have for yourself.
Yeah. Once I started like living on my own, being able to do everything by myself, my respect for my parents went up so much. Although I don't show it to them, which sucks. The amount of times that my dad would say something and then like I would see in the real world be like, wait, he was right. He was right the entire time.
Oh my God, my mom and I really, the last like couple years, our relationship has blossomed, and it's like the most beautiful thing I could ask for. But yes, very much same thing.
I hate that about people, especially when they're
But
right.
this is what I'm saying. It's like learning from other people's mistakes. My mom was like, yo, dummy, why don't do this, because this is what's going to happen. And I don't know if it came from personal experience, because she wasn't sharing a lot of personal experience with me when I was growing up that I really remember. But I don't really remember talking much to her after I was like 14.
Yeah, is that a problem with like parenting in a sense that there's like, you don't, as a parent, you don't want to be vulnerable to your children to show weakness?
And I don't know if it's so much weakness, but I have noticed that parents don't like telling their kids full truth. And I am not here to give parenting advice. So
Is it more not weakness, but rather protection?
yes, I think the idea is that if you don't give your children all of the information, then you're protecting them from the information that could be damaging. I have always been probably overly honest with my son, because I've been through it all, and I don't want him to have to go through it for no reason. Like drugs and alcohol were a big part of my young years. I started drinking when I was 13. He's 13. I can't even imagine. Like, I can't even just looking at him, and he's so young and perfect and wonderful. And I'm like, I can't even imagine.
Hey kid, here's a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, like you like sneaking out of the house to go smoke pot out of a Coca-Cola can with your friends. Like that he just wouldn't, because I've been honest with him about it. I'm like, it's so dumb. And you have asthma, so just you would not be good for you. But has he tried things? I'm sure he has. This wasn't supposed to be a parenting thing, but yeah, but it has been really cool to see what honesty does for 13-year-old boys, especially I think from their moms. I don't think it's a normal occurrence.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to say before? Like any questions that you had? Okay. No, I was just wondering, sometimes like the question might pop up. I don't want it to be like a one-way. I'm just asking all the questions.
Okay, if there's a question, I will ask it.
Okay.
How do you feel about being a virgin?
That's a great question. I was absolutely expecting that. Well, how do you mean? Like, how do I feel?
Like you said, because you get the peer pressure, but like, do you feel anxious about? Because I think at this point,
yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, if you meet somebody that you're like, this is worth it, then you're going to take that relationship as long or as slowly or as fast or whatever as it's going to take for you to both be just comfortable with whatever that looks like. And I don't think that very many people get to experience that, because I grew up very much in hookup culture.
Yeah. My main thing is that having sex, that's not the part I'm worried about. The part I'm worried about is getting attached to people, because I can get really attached to people really quickly for no reason whatsoever. And that's why I try to ignore people, especially women.
Sorry.
Not you. Okay. For whatever reason, I can't identify you when, like, my basic situational awareness just not have a thing for Emily. Like, I'll see you and I'll be like, who is that? And then 3 seconds will go by. Oh, that's Emily. And then I didn't process the fact that it's you. And then I'm like, okay, I need to get back to work. Not you. It's a me thing. Like, you're one of like 3 people that happens to. The only problem I have is getting attached to people. The more I'm waiting, the more it's like you need to get something done. You need to.
Well, is that the ignore thing?
It's kind of ignoring, so I don't have to think about it. And it's especially for women who already are with other guys. I'm like, I respect the guy, especially if I know him. Like, I'm not gonna try to be like, hey, yo, I'm gonna try to get between this relationship.
Well, obviously, yeah.
And some people, that's what I hate about social media. That thing does happen. Although I don't understand why, but like, there's this, like, you got one person, second person, and you got this third wheel just trying to get between, and like the first Second, the woman's not happy, the third guy's going to come in and be like, got the girl. So I try not to get myself attached to people, and problem is it's really easy for me to do so unless I don't think about it, or if I willingly ignore them, which also is probably not helping my chances in finding someone.
That's really, it's not a good way to go about it, I would say.
Oh, you're showing love to me. Wow, that's the greatest feeling in the world. And it's like, is it you or is it your insecurities? And it's like probably my insecurities.
Well, I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is like the quote you found on Instagram about like, does ignoring work? Affection and then ignore, and then affection, then ignore. And that's why love bombing, not in a narcissistic capacity, but, you know, people with neurotypical or neurodivergent brains, they like find something that they hyperfixate on, and then all of their affection and attention goes to that thing. But that is not maintainable. And so that is something that I've had to learn, and I'm still not great at because I still have ADHD. And but it's like that person becomes everything because you find them so interesting, right? And maybe you know that they're like not the right person for you, but because of whatever it is that your brain decides to hold on to, that person is the most interesting thing that you could possibly have in your entire life right now. And when you start putting that back on yourself, when you're like, I'm the most interesting thing that I could possibly have in my life right now, and this person is a cherry on top of that, right, you know, for now or whatever, instead of making them the whole sundae, then it's a lot easier to deal with. You're like, what is it about this person that I find so fascinating that I need to be around all the time? And is it because I don't have that thing, or because I haven't appreciated it about myself yet?
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, which is good.
Yeah.
It's good. I wouldn't have thought of it, because my problem is I find something that I don't have, and I'm like, I find it in her, and I'm like, but I also don't have the ego for me to say I need to see it in myself. That's the only problem. Unless it's something like, you need to get more work done, you need to get this done, you need to get that done, or you're going to get screwed 2 days from now. The part where me comes in is just this. I guess my self-esteem isn't high enough to be able to say, you need to work on yourself.
Work on yourself. Still a baby.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have anything right now. Like you're.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
know, but I want it.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
But then you work on it.
Yeah, but it's like, why can't it come sooner enough?
Right. So I was thinking about this on my way here today. This is the power of yet, and so I don't have this yet. Right, and it can be two-sided, but I always choose to think the positive. So if I say I don't have enough self-esteem yet, then it's coming, and I can accept the amount that I have right now.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I have 3% of the self-esteem I'm going to have in my life, that's more than the whatever I had yesterday. Because that's what I'm working towards.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the podcast isn't big enough yet.
Yeah.
Well, you just started.
I know, but I want it to be bigger.
Yeah, well, of course you do. Because that's the goal. Because that's the yet. You know, and then once you get there, it's like you set all of these little tiny expectations that you have no idea that they even exist now in a year. And you're going to be like, oh my God, now, you know, this is happening yet. And there's always going to be a yet, but you have to appreciate that you have it now.
What about when, at least I'm going to say this in my case, me working on building everything that I'm trying to build while also trying to find someone to be with the rest of my life?
I think you find the person that's supposed to be with you when you are the truest version of yourself.
And how do you know when you're the truest version
of
yourself? Oh.
I'm not out here doing anything to disrespect my future husband. So I think you kind of have to think of it the same way, is you're building this, and as a woman and as a man, it's two completely different things, right? You're building your own empire that is going to eventually support, hopefully, you and your family someday, right? And you're 21.
Yeah, almost 21.
Like, you don't even need to be looking for anybody right now. Like, she will come. She will find you because you are going to be all of the things that she has been praying for.
Yeah.
At the time that God is like, okay, here we go, you know, intercepted.
And what about wanting to make those friendships with females, but also not getting attached? Or is that just something that I have to figure out?
I mean, that's definitely an internal thing. The whole point is to marry your best friend, right? So if you do come across a woman who you are developing a great friendship with, and you hit this point where it's like, okay, are we supposed to be together? Like, let's talk about it. And if you talk about it and you're not, then you're like, okay, well, then you can detach, and it's
Yeah.
okay. And I think people get so like hung up on, like, there's so many people that I admire, and I think that the line between admiration and a crush gets really blurred, right? Like, there's a lot of men that I'm like, oh my God, they're awesome. Would I date them? Absolutely not. But they're really freaking cool. And I'm really glad that I can experience them at a level that other people won't, because they're like, oh my God, he doesn't like me.
Yeah. So where's that line that you draw? Where's admiration versus a crush?
I just don't have crushes on people.
Well, okay.
But I think it took me a long time to get there, where it's like, oh, this man is very attractive. He like seems to have all the qualities that I want, except there's this one thing. I'll just ignore that one thing and we'll see what happens. Well, I've ignored the one thing. They've probably ignored 30 things. And we get into this mess that's like, oh, I never want to talk to you again. When that really just didn't need to happen in the beginning. When I could have just been like, I really admire these things about you. And that's all it needs to be.
Where's that pivoting point where it's you find someone attractive versus someone you want to be with the rest of your life?
I think I'm just really picky. I think my standards are just...
I mean, my standards are high too,
Yeah,
but I'll
should
lower
be.
them for like anyone. Though.
No,
That's the
no,
problem.
that's
It's
the
like,
problem.
Yeah.
You can't. You truly cannot, because if you settle, then you're going to be mad at yourself for letting that person slide in and be like, I'm just going to put up with... They only have one thing wrong with them, but that thing was on my list. It was something that I noticed and I didn't like. But because it was only one of them, maybe I was just being too picky.
Do you have things that are general standards, and then you have like no-goes that if they have X, Y, and Z, it's like, nah, never, forever. That's not going to happen. Like for me, it's like, don't do drugs. Don't be hooking up every night.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there's
Don't
things
be
that's
doing
like,
things in your current life that are going to embarrass me. You know, like, I am actively not disrespecting you in my current life. And I know everyone makes mistakes, but like, if you're out at the bar, like getting sloshed and just taking, like, if you're still in that stage, that's perfectly fine. I do your life, but that's not somebody that I'm going to put forth effort into.
So what would your definition of love be? Your personal definition, not like dictionary definition. Just what would you define a loving relationship?
I think that the more that somebody allows me to be myself and enjoys it, and vice versa.
Okay, so someone who accepts you for who you are.
Right. And accepts me for the things that I don't even know that I am yet. But I think if somebody sees you and your core beliefs and like how goofy you can be, and you know what I mean? And like allows your inner child to flourish and heal and come out to play. And play is very important. And I think that people they're like, oh my God, you're so mature. You know, why aren't you grown, or what? I don't even know. I think play is like the most important thing, because who knows how often we didn't get to play as kids, and we have our entire lives. Like, if I'm home, I'm going to wear whatever I want, whatever's comfortable. Like, you don't have to make a comment on it. And I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And if you want to be involved, great. And if you want to involve me in what you want to do, great. I'm down for it. Let's go. But I don't need to sit there and be ridiculed in my own home.
Yeah. What about the line between someone not being ridiculed and then someone who wants to help you improve?
I think partnership is all about improvement.
And then like also the openness of improvement.
Right. To be seen is to be loved. And I think that there are definitely times and places where you can be like, hey, I noticed this today. This is something that maybe, you know, we can work on, and if it's always like we can work on it, I'll help you out. Like, we've got this together thing, instead of, you know, you were really annoying at the bar tonight. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. I'll be sure to be more annoying next time. So I think that there is a comfortability and level of trust that you have to have with somebody else to be able to hear it.
What about complacency?
I love complacency.
Getting too complacent with the person that you're with.
You meet at the bar and you guys are, you know, drinking every other weekend or whatever it is, right? Your core value is not health and wellness, right? But if your core values, like if I were to meet somebody and I'm like going to the gym all the time and like that's how we, like we do that together and all of a sudden like something happens in life and I'm unable to do that, then like sticking with the program, being partners, whatever, helping me figure out how to continue health and wellness in a situation like, together for better or for worse kind of thing. But if all of a sudden I just stop taking care of myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and get complacent, then I expect my partner to be like, hey, let's go for a walk on the treadmill. Let's go outside. Let's do something. Let's figure out what's going on with you.
Yeah, that's one thing Dave talks about. It's about fair weather friends. If you're not here, if you're only here when I'm at my best and you're not here at my worst, those are the kind of friends he hates the most.
Yes. And I have no problem cutting people off. There's not a single person. I've lost the people that I thought were going to be with me until I died, multiple times. And I appreciate all the friends that I have whenever I have them. And like my best friend in the entire world, I was at the hospital when she was born. And we have been through it's been fun because we've been long distance friends for so long. And we've been through every single chapter of our lives together. Like anyone else in my life, I'd be like, yeah, okay. If you have a problem, like I'd rather just no hard feelings, but like let's just go our separate ways. And if I can't call you when I'm having a bad day, we are not friends.
And is that something that happens through time? Like as you get older, you realize that you'll lose people, you'll gain new people, and you're just going to go through life regardless.
Yeah, I think this is the abandonment issue thing, right? It is embarrassing the things that I have done in order to beg somebody to stay in my life. And I will never do that again. And I don't want anyone to do that to me because I don't want to be guilted into staying in somebody's life that no longer aligns with the bigger picture for me.
That makes sense.
And for both sides, it's ugly and unfair to be begging and to then be denying.
Why do people do that? I mean, obviously
I think that
abandonment,
people
but
put a lot of emotional effort and energy into another person, and they feel like that person may owe them something that they don't, because nobody and from a con and a pro side, nobody owes you anything.
Reminds me of something that I did. Oh man, this is gonna be great editing this.
What'd you do?
It's that exact thing. I did not put it into those words, but now that you said it, I regret a lot of things. Anyways,
there's nothing to regret, though.
Not regret, but rather a lot of things I could have done better.
Yes.
And that's what I regret, not knowing that I could have done better, which I know is experience. Obviously, it's going to take some time.
You don't know until
learn.
You know.
Yeah. And then when I realize I know, regret. How do you deal with regret?
I don't have any.
Oh, things that I do if I regret it, I'm going to remember not to make that same mistake again.
Well, the nice thing about having multiple brain injuries and concussions.
So that's why you're crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Is that I don't remember like a lot of specifics at the or detail when I'm like, oh my God, where are there things that I regret? And I don't harbor on it. So I'm not sitting here like in my car on the way home from a bad day, or a stressful day, or, working here is like the best thing on the planet. There's no stressful days, but there are busier days than others, or something will happen with a customer that you're like, well, what? But you drive home from a crappier day than usual, and there's nothing that I'm like, maybe I should think of worse things, I think meditation is really important. I think retraining your brain to spin negatives into positives, as just a practice, is really important.
Yeah. What about the people who delve too much into the emotions and not really try to figure out a way of solving it?
Do they?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I mean, I'm not that
honestly. I was with a guy who really allowed his emotional state to take over everything, and they call it depression, or they call it whatever, anxiety, and he's diagnosed this, that, and the other, and medication, whatever it is. But I don't know. It's so debilitating to live like that. And I watched it and it was absolutely heartbreaking because there was nothing I could do. And at the end of the day, it affected me deeply. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't there was nothing about his inability to cope and create a stable emotional environment at home that I could do anything about. You know? And you have to be alone until you can.
Yeah. And that's the points when you have to just let go of that relationship.
And I didn't for a long time until it literally exploded. And I was like, well, I'm either going to die or, this has to end.
Would that have to do with the sense of urgency when it comes to doing things? Where if you don't have that sense of urgency to change, to want to be different, to want to improve, or to get out of like a relationship that's not going so well, that if some people don't have that urgency, they're gonna fall back on that connection, on the, what did you say? The emotional, what did you say? The amount of emotional investment that they put into it.
Yeah. I think people tend to go, hey, we've been doing this for 4 years. Like, this is 4 years of my life. I don't want to waste 4 years. It's like, do you want to waste 5? Do you want to waste 7? Like, how much time you've already wasted the 4? And if that's how you're thinking about this, instead of going, wow, I spent 4 years with this person and I learned 1 million lessons. Now I'm going to remove myself and take those lessons and hopefully never have to repeat them, because they will repeat until you learn.
That's good.
Because then you're wasting somebody else's 4 years.
Yeah.
You're not just wasting your own.
It's not even you're wasting someone else's, you're wasting your future self's 4 years.
Which is the most important person in your life. It should be.
I'm loving this so much. This is great.
What are you concerned about in your future?
Failing.
Failing at what?
Fear of failure. Failing anything. Failing this. Failing a potential relationship I could have. Failing my parents.
But you're going to.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I hate.
Well, it's so funny because I think this comes up a lot. The concept of hating failure, right? And watching my son, this has been a huge lesson for me, is he has never done organized sports before. So this is his first year of wrestling, and he's a gifted athlete. He's his whole life.
I gets it from you, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I know. He gets it all from me. But it's really been a struggle. And he's failed more than he has won, right? And he loves it.
I mean, that's the point. You have to lose.
You have to lose. You have to fail. Because if you don't fail, then you can't win, right? If you don't even try, you're not going to win.
What about like the fear of failing once and then having to suffer with that forever?
Why are you suffering with it forever?
No, I mean, but what about like failing your parents or failing someone who actually like once, I guess this would also go on trust. If you, like the second, I have different circles of like in my sphere of influence. One of them is being my inner circle of people who I really trust. People I've known for like at least 2 years. I really trust their opinion.
Your A-zones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's times where someone even within that inner circle, or best friends, whatever, the second I've lost trust in their ability to hold the secrets that I've told them is the second I cut off like any interactions with them. I try not to talk to them. I try not to speak with them, even if we've had a lot of good years. But it's like people have done that to me. What if I did that to someone else and I didn't mean to do it? Or it's something that's like no apology will ever be able to overcome it.
That's okay. Are you going to do it again? Probably. Yeah. Because not every mistake that you make is exactly the same, right? So like, of course you are. And you're a human being. If you're not, then if you don't make them, it'd be really boring. Yeah. If your life was just up all the time.
Well, I want it to be up all the time.
Yeah, we all do. But it's like really boring.
Yeah, but I don't want to like expect that I'm going to fail.
Right. I shouldn't say you should expect to fail, because I think that does set you up for failure. I think, going into the ring and going, oh, that guy looks way better at this than me. You don't know just because he has a cool haircut.
Okay, then he definitely is going to beat me up.
For sure. Mullet kids always win.
Every time.
But you can't go in that. That's your inner game. And the inner game is what is going to determine how the rest of your life plays out. And it's okay to fail. It's totally fine. But you can't expect to.
Not to have a fear of failure, but just no expectation that you're going to fail.
Right. High standards, low expectations.
That's good. Well, low expectation, you don't expect.
I have high standards, but I don't expect anything out of anybody. And if they raise to the standard, great. But I don't expect them to.
It's the same thing that one of the first guys I had said. He doesn't lower his standards for anyone. Like if he goes into a grocery store and the floors are dirty, he's leaving. Because if they don't hold themselves, the company doesn't hold themselves to the same standards he does, he's not going to invest his money into that person, or in that case, the company.
That's an extreme example, but I like it. It's just something I haven't. I'm going to do that immediately.
He's 65, 70, old as heck. So I'm still going to make him watch this. But he's a great guy.
That's a new standard of mine now.
Yeah,
I love it. And I think the more that you experience, the higher your standards become. I'll take this place as an example. I don't expect every gun range to be an XCal, but I do expect people to treat other people well. So when I go to a different gun range, it's not that I need it to be clean. And if somebody treats me like I don't know anything, then I'm not going to stay there. But
you're a woman. You don't know anything.
I know.
You can't drive.
It's my favorite.
You can't vote. You don't have rights.
I'm not a very good driver.
You're not?
No.
I drive stick shift, so I'm a great driver.
I learned on stick shift.
Okay.
My first car was stick. I'm a great driver. I just don't love to do it.
Do you know when to switch off? Because I think that's my problem. Like I won't be able to. I don't know when to switch off. Like every night, it's like I could have done a little more today. I could have done one more thing. I could have done something else to get.
So I very much used to be like that. And it wasn't like anything that was pressing, right? Like nothing that we think about at midnight is pressing to do right this second. And then I started adopting the motto, that's a tomorrow problem, right? And then I started writing out tomorrow problems. And my tomorrow problems were like very easily fixed when I woke up with more energy to do them. And if I have already used all of my energy for the day and I'm like, okay, but this one last thing, am I going to put enough energy into it that it deserves? Or can I just do it tomorrow?
What about the complacency of everything's a tomorrow problem? And then I get to the point where it's like, it's not going to be done today.
What do you mean?
Let's say I have a list of things to do and this much I can get done today. This much I think I can finish today, and then this stuff is a tomorrow thing.
I think this is a 21-year-old problem. I think that like I'm building something that is real. I'm really, really excited about, and like, which is your life, which is cool. I think 30 hits a little differently when you're like, this is my life. Do I need to get all of it done, or can I enjoy a little bit? You know what I mean? And I think I enjoy the career that I have, and it's like in its infancy stages right now. I love working at a gun range. I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy the extracurricular jobs that I have. Like all of it is super fun. And that I could not always say that about the jobs that I've had, but I know that the life that I have right now is I have never been happier. And so I think that I had to let go of a lot of expectations of myself to get to a point where I was at peace, stable, and happy. And then when you're there, there's just so much more energy and effort you can put into other things that maybe were on your to-do list 5 years ago that I can now get done because I'm not concerned.
It's probably a 21-year-old problem.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, be overwhelmed.
I would rather be overwhelmed than be like, okay, I need to find some strippers tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've always had this deep yearning for happiness and figuring out how to be as happy as possible all the time, to the point that it like got a little bit manic a lot. And when your life is kind of shitty and you're making, am I allowed to say shitty?
Dude, you've sworn like 5 times already. I don't
That's
think.
it?
Yeah.
Not badly.
I don't care. I'm gonna bleep it out.
Okay.
You're gonna have a bunch of quacks all over the place.
No, I wanted less than Steven. That was the point. But I think when your life is not going well, and you'll like take any scrap of what could be perceived as happiness, instead of just fixing what it is about your life that isn't happy, then therein lies the issue. Like, I have now set my life up so that my life is happy. And if I can find bits that are happier, like, I will go get them, but I don't need the escape in order to be happy anymore.
Is it almost like chasing that high? That you're always like, you find something that makes you happier, and then you just like, that becomes your new baseline. So in your perception, it's kind of like an interval, like you're getting more and more happier, but to you it seems like the same, but just easier to manage.
Yeah. I think there's definitely times in my life where like they're just way easier to manage. Like, I don't have any stress. Like right now, I'm like in a place in my life where I finally have mitigated a lot of excess stress. But it took facing that stress. It took being like, girl, you need to get your credit cards. You know, like, we need to start paying things off. Like, you need to stop ignoring things in order to be happy again. But like, you have to get over that hump. I think you're doing a great job writing.
Oh yeah, I've done this enough times. And I'm like, if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah, I keep forgetting what I'm talking about, and then I'll like loop back to something. So I hope it makes sense.
That's fine. You're just as look. I understand it.
I'm glad.
I don't know if anyone else does, but I understand.
That's all that matters. I'm talking to you.
Yeah, you look great
That's
today.
how friendships start.
You're 50 pounds heavier than yesterday.
Yes,
that's great.
Thank you. I will now depend upon you to tell me if I have gained 50 pounds, Aren. Got it?
I don't think you're going to gain 50 pounds.
I don't either.
Even if I did, I probably wouldn't notice it.
Ugh.
Just
that's what everyone said.
Is there anything first you wanted to go into, or just
what were we talking about?
Where's that line where you're just always giving to people and doing it for yourself, and even if no one reciprocates that back, it's more of just treating yourself right?
Mm-hmm. I will always give as much as I have to give that day. And sometimes that looks vastly different than other days. You know, sometimes I just don't have, I didn't put enough into myself to be able to give as much as I usually can. But I will always give, and I don't care if anyone reciprocates.
It's more of a reflection on you.
Right. It's totally about me. And it feels good to, right, it is. And it feels good to give. It like, I find a lot of joy in being able to give, not because I have much, but because what I do have, I love to share. And if somebody's not reciprocating it, then I know that I don't need to give it to them, but I can still give to somebody who is.
Yeah. So just being like, just having that internal sunshine.
Yeah. I'm not like going to text somebody who just doesn't text back. I'm not going to keep that. Oh my God, I just really wish this person would text me back. No, I got it. Okay. You're not texting back. I will go talk to the person that is, or whatever it is, and put energy into people who are also giving you energy back. Because if you give and you reciprocate, then it's evening itself out.
What about forgetting people? Forgetting the people who have helped you, who have been there, but you just like over time it just slowly started disappearing because you guys don't see each other as much, or you don't.
I think it's okay to like your brain chooses what you're thinking about, right? And I think it's okay to
your brain chooses.
Yeah,
I thought it was my liver.
Yeah, but like I am not sitting there every day going, "Oh my God, who are the people I could potentially forget about?" I don't care. They're not in my thoughts. They're not like, "Oh my God, you thought about me. I'm calling you." You know. So no, I don't think about them, and I don't feel bad about it. And I have had a lot of people who have died by way of traumatic events, suicide or otherwise, that I when their name comes up in conversation, or when memories remind me of them, I go, oh, that was a really nice memory to have. I'm glad that we had it. I'm glad that I was given the opportunity to have that memory with this person. It was a good one.
What about when people die in terms of their personality? The person you used to know is not the person that you know now.
People do change, right? And for bad or for good, but at least it's an example of so. So that is kind of cool to me, to be like, I knew this person that you were and we really vibed. And like, but because of who we've become, the vibe isn't there anymore. But like, that's your journey and I'm on mine. And I really am excited for your journey for you. But it just we don't need to like be riding the same train anymore. But like to meet at the train station and be like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. Like, what's, like to catch up and be like, wow, that's like, it's really cool that your life has taken, that it's just gone the way that it's gone. And like, I'm glad it's working out for you.
Is it easier for women to let go of people? Or to just sever ties when things just don't work out?
Not in my experience. I mean, you see all these, I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, my ex isn't calling me right now. It's like, oh, okay. I don't know if it's gender specific. I think it's an emotional maturity issue.
When did you get to that point where your emotional maturity just was something that you were satisfied with?
I don't think that I'm like fully satisfied with it yet, but I do think that the 180 shift for me that I knew it was never going to happen again was when I broke up with my most recent long-term relationship. When that like absolutely hit the fan, I was like, I don't know what I need to do. At the time when you're just absolutely devastated and like you feel like you're dying and your life has just imploded and everything that you've known for X amount of time just 180'd and slipped out from underneath you. Like it's such a lonely, isolating experience that is designed to be lonely and isolating. And I loved it. And like I look back and I'm like, I don't even recognize who that person is whatsoever. I cannot relate to her. If I like met her in the street, I'd be like, whoa, girl, you need some help. But that's exciting for me, to be able to come out the other side, be like, if that ever happened to me ever again, well, number one, I would put myself in a position that I knew better and would never happen again. But number two, I know how to get out of it instantaneously.
Yeah. Were you ever a people pleaser?
Yeah, I'm still a people pleaser.
A people pleaser for, obviously, I like talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not everyone, but I like talking to people.
Yeah.
But there's also like, I want to be able to help them. At the same time, some people appear that they don't want to be helped.
Yeah. I sacrificed a lot of my time and my own life to try to help people that have legitimately asked for it. But I don't have the resources. And I think it's more helpful to pass along those situations to people who have the resources. Like instead of me taking responsibility for it and trying to pull somebody out of the dirt, I should have offered the resources that I used to get out of the dirt.
I think I understand what you mean. I'm not sure though.
Like go to therapy.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, or like, hey, I think this person is better equipped to help you.
Wish I could do that. I just want to destroy everyone.
No, you don't.
Psychologically break them down.
Lies.
Destroy. This is going to sound like a really general question and probably maybe dumb, which I've asked a lot of dumb questions so far.
Yeah, dumb questions are allowed.
Yeah. How do women think?
I don't want to say anything because the internet is a cruel place. Like I don't.
Do you want me to say something and then see if like how that would work?
Sure.
Okay. Just because.
I mean, okay, I'm going to say it and then I want you to say something so you can cut it out if it gets insane. Okay.
Okay.
I think women are born into a sense of entitlement that they can kind of do whatever they want to do because of what they have, which is sex. I think it actually, it's a very difficult place to be an attractive woman in society. I mean, this is like through the time of like humankind, right? Like you have your prostitutes and like and that was like the first job women could have. And so they know the power of it. And I don't understand why there's so much jealousy between women when I'm like, we're literally in this, we're playing the same game, like we're not playing checkers versus chess here. Like, we're all on the same chessboard on the same side. Like, can we get together, please, and like have a good time? Yeah, I've really, I love women, and I think that girl power is such an awesome thing, but it doesn't need to be girl power against men. It just needs to be girl power with each other.
Yeah, I think there's the one saying that men could work out for other men, and women wear makeup for other women.
Right. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but yeah, I mean,
I know for men, they don't work out for the women. They work out because other guys are going to compliment them.
yeah, I don't know how women think. I think it's really it's a conundrum that I have. I don't think I think, and this is like such everyone. Oh, pick me, blah blah blah. No, I don't think that I have the same mentality that most women have.
I know men, at least in my mind, it's more like a train. Like, I'm going on this, and then upcoming is another train track, so I go to a different train track, and I might come back to my original thought. If not, I'll go on other train tracks. Are women more like a spider web? Like, they'll have one thought, and then it connects to a bunch of other thoughts?
Oh yeah, and we have trouble circling back. Yeah, I think it's like having an open tab in your browser. Like, how many tabs in your browser do you have on right now, open in your phone?
0, maybe 1.
Yeah, I probably have like 200. I think women are really detail oriented. I'm not. So I truly, truly wish I was more detail oriented, but I'm like on same kind of train thought. It's just like, this is where I'm going, and I don't slow down. You know, even if I'm like, oh, that was a passenger we needed to pick up. They're just like, nope, sorry, too bad, so sad, you know?
I thought you were going to say there's a passenger on the rails. Too bad, so sad.
No. But like, we're like, oops, okay. But I think, but there are times where like you open the fridge and you're like the old, ketchup joke. I know where the ketchup is, and it's annoying, when other people don't know where the ketchup is. But like, I know that that's not how everyone sees the world.
I think there's another thing. It's like, whenever you go to the fridge the first time, you see what's in the fridge, like, oh, what can I eat? And then you close the fridge because there's nothing to eat. But every single time after that, you don't see if there's anything new, but you see if your standards have lowered.
Yes. Yeah. That's why you got to stop circling back to the fridge. And that goes for everything in life. Yeah. If you didn't find something to eat to begin with, there's nothing to eat. There's nothing there. Go to the grocery store.
Going back to entitlement, would the opposite of entitlement be frugality?
The opposite of entitlement might be just humbleness.
Humility?
Humility.
Isn't the opposite of humility pride?
Maybe. I don't know.
If you're entitled to something, you want it. Like
you think you deserve it for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I've never thought about this before.
I know. Me neither. If you think you deserve something, humility would be part of it, but doesn't feel like the right word for it.
Yeah, don't add that woman tangent in there. Don't add the woman tangent in there.
What tangent?
What tangent?
Which one?
The entitlement tangent.
Why not? To the 20 people who are going to listen to it.
You never know.
I know. I do know. What are they going to say? You're a woman?
Yeah. Oh my God, she's such a pick-me.
I don't think so. That's more of when you have a lot of confidence.
Yeah. It's like such a double-edged sword, because I have the confidence to put up with it. You know what I mean? But there's also like, why do I need to put up with it because I'm confident?
Yeah.
The only things that I hear about myself, which is very rare because I don't listen to what other people say about me, unless it's great, is that that I'm like too, like I'm like flirtatious or like over, and I'm like, oh my God, your complaint is that I'm too nice. That's the problem? That's the problem you're having with me? That's crazy. Like, that I'm too nice, and I've set the boundary that we're friends. Yeah. What a problem to have. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I can see that being a problem.
Right. It's annoying. Because
who does that? It's either you're all for it or you're not.
Right.
It's like you have to be on an extreme, not just I'm happy the way I am.
I'm totally happy the way I am. Could I be happy with the way I am? I'm sure. But if I because I could put more work in, which would make me more happy.
You could be heavy. You could be overweight. Yeah.
I mean, I have been. And I was perfectly happy with my personality then too.
And guess what? There's going to be a market for that. Hey girl, you look great today. Bro, I look like oil.
But like, things fluctuate, right? And it's like, and it's nice. because I've been there. I get it. I understand. But like, I didn't excuse myself to stay there forever.
Right.
It's not that I don't have physical ailments. It's not like I have not dealt with mental illness. It's not like, but like you have to shift your conversation with yourself going, yeah, I'm mentally ill. Instead of like, what can I do to fix and assist in my mental wellness?
What about the people who just refuse to acknowledge? I guess the first part to solving a problem is acknowledging that there is one.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of gets stuck in that. Like with alcohol, for me, for sure. I think I was like, but I'm so much fun. Okay. Fun to who? You? Me? You know, like, okay, you're fun for an hour. Was the hour worth your whole life? No. And to be fair, like, I don't think that I probably wasn't all that fun, you know? Like, if you look back at the things that you do when you're drunk.
Who you're fun with, that's the market that's the expectation that you set for yourself. If you're in a bar and having fun is different than being in a study group with like a bunch of other smart people having fun.
Right.
Because that's going to be the most like.
And that's fun for me now. I think being homeschooled and was like, it was necessary and it was the best choice for me, for sure. But I never really learned how to learn, you know, and I don't think that school teaches you how to.
No, it teaches you how to read and repeat.
Right. I think that the older I get, the more that I'm like, I love to learn. And I love to read. And I love to study on my own. And I love to research. And I love to just be by myself, like going down fun rabbit holes I find myself in. And I saw like a social media trend that it was like these kids were doing a PowerPoint presentation on different like social justice issues. And it's like, I want that group of friends. Like that to me is way more fun now.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
I actually get a lot of advice about women from my guy friends. Because they're like, this is how I've seen them operate. And like when you have a one-track, very logical mind, I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. And a lot of and for some reason, a lot of my guy friends ask me about their female problems, and I'm like, it's because they're a woman. Like, I don't. What do you mean? You know, some things you just have to like.
What are some of those problems?
I think just insecurity plays so much of a part when it comes to women in relationships, and it's I don't think that men have helped that situation with, you know, being cheated on. I don't think there's a relationship I've been in. I've been in one long-term relationship that I can guarantee that cheating was not the issue ever. But the rest of them I have. And it's easy now to get insecure about, you know, women talking to men in relationships on the phone or whatever else. And I've made the mistake of interfering with a relationship in the past, and not knowingly. I had no idea, you know, he lied, and but I think that having insecurities causes you to act in a way that's really not yourself, because you can't act and behave to your core when something else is driving the situation.
Yeah. Are they more self-inflicted insecurities about what could be, or what?
I think all insecurities are self-inflicted, but that's your own thing to handle, and it's for your partner to empathize with. Like it is the job of your partner to acknowledge your insecurities and try to put them to ease.
Yeah, but not to put it against you.
Right. But it also is your responsibility to acknowledge that your partner is acknowledging them, right? And move on from and try to fix them, not just be like, well, you know, I'm insecure about it. It's like, okay, yeah, why? Why are you still insecure about it?
Yeah. Is that partially a problem that some people just don't work on their communication skills?
Yes. And I don't think any of us are perfect at communicating. I know for a fact that for myself, if something is going in a direction that I don't particularly enjoy, I just stop talking. And I think it's not like maybe it's a ghosting situation, but it's like, I know for you and me continuing this conversation it's not going to go anywhere, and there's no need to continue like forcing something that's not there anymore. And we don't necessarily need to talk about it. We don't need to like have closure. I think closure's the biggest myth of all time because everyone needs a certain level of it, right? And I can only give you 2% of the closure, but for me, that's 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like I can give you all of the information. I can give you all of my honesty. I can give you everything. And that I have to offer, and maybe it's just not something else. It's not something that person is good. It's not good enough for them.
Yeah. Does that have to do with people wanting to get the truth that they're hoping to get? That they're expecting a certain outcome, so therefore they're going to keep searching and searching until they find what they're looking for, even if it's not the truth? It's
the lack of letting go. And I think it's something to, again, hyperfixate on. And so maybe if there's two ways I think this could go about. The first being, maybe if I learn every single thing and every single piece of evidence and information, then I can learn every single message and lesson I'm supposed to from this, which isn't true. And then the other side of it is, if I know everything, then I can use it as an excuse for my behavior.
Is that the problem with intelligent people versus stupid people? Intelligent people don't have the confidence and stupid people do, because the stupid ones don't know what they don't know, and the intelligent ones are...
I think blind confidence comes from stupidity. And I think that's a lot of testosterone.
All right, so we're the intelligent ones. You guys aren't. That makes sense.
The opposite of that, but yeah.
Is it stupidity or ignorance?
I never like to say... I call people stupid all the time, but I don't legitimately mean like people of low intelligence, right? I think that there is a lot of wisdom and experience, not years. So somebody can be 70 and have had a very clutch life, and they might have like skated by, never needed to use any common sense, are very, very nice and whatever. And
people existing.
Yes. And like, maybe they had some great experiences in life, but nothing like detrimental. And so they just don't have the wisdom that somebody who has had an incredibly difficult life, that have come out on top, has created something better for themselves.
Is that the difference between good people and bad people? The good ones or the bad ones are the people who have pains and they inflict that pain on other people, whereas good people are the ones who get the pain and don't inflict that on others.
Yeah, I think it's like I think they say intention paves the road to hell, but I think intention is really important. And if you understand somebody's true intent and they still hurt you, then it's a lot more easily forgivable than if like somebody's true intent was to hurt you and they hurt you.
Would that be partially manipulation?
I don't think so.
That someone with bad intentions is purposely using...
Oh yeah, that's absolutely manipulation.
Okay.
I think it always starts with intent. And good people don't like to see bad people's intentions because they can't. They're just like, if something bad happens to me and a person does me dirty, I'm like surprised by it because I would just never expect it, because I would never do that. So it's like, and if I do something that hurts somebody else, I'm shocked by it just as much as they are, because I'm like, I would never intend to hurt you or your feelings or anything.
Yeah. So is that almost people don't want to be the villain of their own story, but also don't want to see any villains in their own story.
Right.
They just want to be the hero and see other heroes, and like it's just sunshine and rainbows.
It's very boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be almost like self-deception?
Yeah, absolutely. That's like this. That's impossible. But I also think that people who look for villains are going to find a villain in everyone.
Are you able to identify people who have bad intentions early on? Like you just get that, I don't know, like your radar just like...
There is so much time that we spend trying to get over our childhoods instead of just living in your adulthood. And like so much money and therapy. I'm not knocking therapy. People who it works for should go. But there's so much time spent, so much energy spent just getting over the fact that your parents were also human. And this is also their first time on earth. and they're just trying to figure it out too. And we're just the byproduct of two people that found each other at some point and have some kind of relationship. And like, usually it's very rare that like people aren't born out of love. It happens, but like very rarely does it happen. Like, I know that when I was born, my parents were in love. And that's like, so I am a product of love. Just because the house wasn't, you know, super peaceful and awesome growing up doesn't mean that I need to spend my entire life trying to get over it. I just need to create a life that feels good and peaceful and stable for myself.
Did any of that change when you went from being, for lack of a better word, a bad girl to a good girl? Sounds really.
No, I honestly, like, throughout the whole concept, I think I went like full feminism. I don't want to say that word. And I was like, we're like totally equals. Everything we do is equal. Like, I'll, 50-50, you know. And then I think when you grow up, you realize, like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work that I don't need to. That's not my life's purpose. My life's purpose is to like do the roles that I want to do. And like, I would love to be at home working the jobs that I want to work, but I don't want it to be like I don't need to be the whatever money maker or head of household or whatever. And it's like, I want to have a soft life. I've had enough of the hard life. Like, it's hard. It sucks. And I don't deserve it.
Is there a difference between the life that you want versus the life that works best for you?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I would love to be like a cowgirl in Montana, but that would not work best for me. I hate the cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
No drama with anyone else. And I think every single person needs that space in their life, and not enough people get it.
How do people get that? Like, what would...
Being single. And you have to allow yourself to be, and not just like constantly be seeking external
satisfaction.
Yeah.
External satisfaction or instant gratification?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, that's why the dating apps work so well. It's that hookup culture issue, and the one that you want to get away from. So, I mean, my suggestion would be just delete your apps.
The thing is, I don't know if that's too high of an expectation. Like, if I found someone who satisfied 90% of everything that I wanted, and that 10% was things that I didn't have, that, all right, let's say 90% good, 9% was, yeah, I'm comfortable with that. And there's like that 1%, it's like, holy flip, is this something I actually want to sacrifice? Something like I really have an ick for? Is it something that like I don't think about?
Wouldn't you rather be alone?
You also have your,
Yeah, I failed a lot. So I know what it's going to take to win.
I guess I'm just too scared to be alone.
Yeah, but you have been.
Yeah.
And you're doing a great job.
It doesn't feel like it.
But you're 21.
I know, but it doesn't feel like it. It's like
it.
everyone else is like, hey, I had this party with these friends and I don't know, you got drunk and you did this, whatever. But like, you had that connection with people. You can talk to people. Like me, it's like, I don't know, every day is just hours and hours just doing the same thing, hoping that maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
I'm fine with being alone, but I also want to be with good company.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's like, can't find them.
Yeah. Good friends are really hard to come by.
Oh, good friends my age.
Yeah, 100%. But you don't need them to be your age.
I know. And that's fine.
Yeah. I wish I hadn't had friends my age when I was your age. I wish I had friends that pushed me out of my envelope and kind of like kicked my ass a little bit.
And a lot of people have been on this podcast. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Only thing is just like, I guess I'm missing that connection of someone who is my age. It's like, am I losing myself by being... Like, I relate to a lot more older people than I do to younger people. Like, I know the older movies. I've seen the classics. Like,
you're a bolo tie.
Yeah, exactly. I
love it.
Being lonely is great. Because there's Washington's, or not Washington's quote, but from a Rules of Civility booklet. They usually have Washington's face on it. It's better to be alone than to be with bad company. I have a lot of great people that I can talk to all the time, but I don't know, maybe it's a 21-year-old problem of wanting to connect with people my age and find the same level of maturity with people who are like me.
You would have no problem if you just went with the grain. But I think because you do go against the grain, it's really difficult. But it's like in the best way is it difficult.
I just don't want to. Maybe it's just another fear.
Like he will never be, but I like wish my son could figure out how to have a little bit of that before I have to let him all loose in the world. You know what I mean? Like it is very difficult as a parent to like, okay, you're an adult now.
Good luck.
Don't make any stupid decisions. But when you're not making any stupid decisions and your like biggest issue right now is like, how do I find friends that are also not making stupid decisions? Like, that's a great problem to have.
I guess partially my fear is being so comfortable with being alone that I just lose touch with the world.
This is where like self-worth and confidence will play a huge part eventually. I think it's really cool to be different. And I think I spent a long time trying not to be. And I was homeschooled. You know, I'm like the horse girl. Like I have always dived deep into the things that I've been super interested in. And it wasn't necessarily like the coolest things to be into. So I'd also try to like be the best party girl and be the best friend and you know, hang out with people that I didn't necessarily agree with what they were doing, but I was going to involve myself anyway because it was the thing to do. And it caused a lot of angst and trauma and a lot of scorned relationships and reputation and a lot of mistakes that I wish I didn't have to make in order to learn them multiple times in a row.
Yeah.
There's some things that you're going to regret not having done. But I think there's going to be way more that you're going to be grateful that you didn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to have a kid at 21. I don't want to have that mistake. Hey, you're the father. What?
No, you don't want to do that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like kids. Not like that.
No, yeah. Like kids are wonderful. Do I want another one right this moment? No.
Do I want one right this moment? Probably. I can't even provide for
21
myself.
is not even... God, the difference of parent I would be if I had a child now versus 19 is like... I mean, it's cool to have a kid that has grown up with me. It really is. And he has seen me at, you know, stages I wish he hadn't seen me at. But at the end of the day, like we're super tight because I've always just been super honest. And I'm like, this is what's going on. And, you know, at a level that he could comprehend. And so he has, you know, seen what mistakes that he doesn't want to make.
But you don't regret having him.
No.
Yeah. I don't mean that in like you were in an accident. No, like you, even though it happened, you're still happy it happened.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what my life would be if I hadn't. So I can't really think back and be like, my life would be so different if I didn't have him. Like, I don't think I would have had a life if I didn't have him.
Is it the responsibility that helps you grow or the commitment?
There is like a huge thing with commitment. Once you've decided that you're going to do something, you need to see it to the end. And you learn responsibility within commitment.
Mm-hmm. What about the things that you're not sure if you need to commit to it? Like you haven't, like you know other people commit to it and it works, but you haven't made that commitment yet because it's new, it's different.
Like sometimes you need to suffer in order to be like, okay, I'm done suffering, you know, today is the day, which is literally what happened to me when I was like, I, in my own home, am out of breath walking up my own flight of stairs. Like something is going seriously wrong and I need to figure it out today. And I called my doctor that day and I was like, I'm coming in tomorrow and we're going to figure out what's going on.
Cool. Is there anything you want to talk about? I don't know. It's your podcast.
Wow. All of my people are here.
Yeah.
No, I think that's it.
Well, I'll ask you the question I ask everyone. Where do you want to be in 10 years?
Alive.
Well, okay. Duh. Hopefully. If you want to make the world a better place, you have to be alive.
Yeah, it's true.
But like, who do you want to be in 10 years?
I want to push my limits on how happy I can stay and maintain. And what I can do for this art and sport of shooting. I think it's just such a necessary and important life skill, especially for women.
I'll ask you the other last question I usually ask. What would you tell to yourself, I guess in your case, 10 years ago?
I think I would just smack myself in the face I think I just needed one good slap across the face from somebody who meant it. Yeah. I'm really proud of the person I become in 10 years. I think like 10 years to me is like a snap of the fingers, it seems. But who I was at 23 is like leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds I've grown. But that bitch needs to be slapped in the face.
What would be some like words of advice if to give like the verbal slap in the face?
Just stop focusing your efforts on the wrong thing every day. Just focus it literally anywhere else. Focus it on yourself. Stop trying to live for everyone else all the time. Because they are surely not living for you.
Well, that's all I got.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. That was great. Holy moly.
Oh, I'm glad.
So drunk on dopamine right now.